back in the 50s or early 60s. He got it from a surplus area, and he got off the ground, got adjacent to the airport. The engine quit, so he landed on a dirt road. He walked back.
What's this? What's going on? Oh boy.
Everybody, just let us figure this out.
It started off Sunday morning over 80 years ago in Pearl Harbor at Hickam Field on the Hawaiian island of Oahu. Our entire naval base has awakened, with most of our fleet peacefully anchored within the confines of the harbor. Experience the roar of the engines and the sounds of the bombs as the Imperial Japanese Navy approaches, and with the break in formation, launches the first wave of 189 fighters and bombers from Japan's first air fleet, led by Japanese Captain Kushida. The unprovoked surprise attack was so complete that the coded success signal, Tora, 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 was sent back to the carrier task force before the first bomb fell. A single remote radar station had spotted the incoming raiders, but mistook them for a flight of B-17s due in from the mainland. The B-17s arrived, and like America herself, find themselves in a war that had not yet been declared. The attack was from the Japanese aircraft carriers Akagi, Akaga, Hiru, Soru, and the two new carriers, the Shokaku and the Suikoku. The plan was simple: destroy the Pacific Fleet. The raid lasted for horrific and gruesome hours. Yes, you have a front row seat in the Pacific Theater as the story of the attack on Pearl Harbor unfolds right in front of you. When the first bombs began to fall, pilots all over the island jump into action. At Wheeler Field, Lieutenant Philip Rasmussen woke to the sound of bombs, jumping out of bed, strapping on a .45 caliber pistol over his purple pajamas, and ran to a working Curtiss P-36 Hawk. He was joined by four more P-36 pilots: Lewis Sanders, Harry Brown, Berlin Sterling, and Malcolm Lightfoot. They took off to engage the attacking Japanese and managed to shoot down a few of their Zeros, Valves, and Kates. The number of enemy aircraft were incredibly overwhelming. Right here, center stage, you have our P-36 Hawk, green airplane with the yellow spinner chasing down the airplane. Meanwhile, elsewhere on the island, Kenneth Taylor and George Welsh were just returning from an all-night dinner, dance, and poker party. These brave pilots, still in their formal dress clothes, raced to a couple of P-40 Warhawks, got them fueled and armed, and took off. They quickly found themselves in the middle of a real battle. These two pilots caught up with the Japanese close to Pearl Harbor and Hickam Field and engaged the Zeros, Valves, and Kates with rounds from their .30 caliber machine guns. However, they quickly ran out of ammo. Luckily though, they were able to land at Wheeler Field, which is near the center of the island. They refueled and reloaded with .30 and .50 caliber ammo and took off once again to fight the Japanese. The two pilots are credited with downing a total of 6 Japanese warplanes before their own planes were disabled. Both pilots received a Distinguished Service Cross for their actions that day. A total of 502 U.S. airplanes were on the ground at the beginning of the attack. Sadly, 188 were totally destroyed, 159 damaged, and 155 aircraft lay on the ground in various stages of disrepair. The first wave of 189 Japanese Zeros, Vals, and Kates hammered Hawaii for almost an hour. Then came the second wave of an additional 171 aircraft to continue the strafing and the bombing and dropping of torpedoes for yet another 70 minutes. That's a total of 360 enemy warplanes. As the attack at Pearl Harbor and Hickenfield proceeded, the devastation was horrifying. On the eastern edge of Ford Island, in the center of the harbor, 9 battleships lay at work. The California, Oklahoma, West Virginia, Tennessee, Maryland, Nevada, Pennsylvania, Utah, and the Arizona. Luckily, at the time, our 3 Pacific aircraft carriers were out at sea. First, the Japanese hit with Kate torpedo bombers. The initial wave of Kates hit 5 of our battleships: the Oklahoma, California, Nevada, West Virginia, and the Utah. These Kates were specially equipped with shallow-running torpedoes, specifically designed for the attack on Pearl Harbor. You see, the shallow waters at Pearl Harbor would not allow the use of normal deep-running torpedoes, which leaves no question that this was a well-thought-out plan and not a surprise attack. Right in front of you, center stage green airplane, that's a Kate torpedo bomber. Then came the Bell 5 bombers, armed with 1,700 pounds of armor-busting projectiles. Originally made for 16-inch battleship guns, but were converted to aerial bombs. These planes dived down onto the Nevada and the Arizona. Anti-aircraft fire veered the Bells away from the Nevada on the first wave. But unfortunately, the Arizona was not that lucky. A bomb stabbed the Arizona through her forward magazine and exploded, torching off more than 1 million pounds of gunpowder. Sailors on the Nevada watched in horror as the Arizona jumped 20 feet in the air and broke in two, forever entrapping 1,178 American servicemen. In an underwater tube, the ship sank in less than 3 minutes. And still today, she remains at the bottom of the harbor in a watery grave, crying black tears as a reminder to all of us and all of those that lost their lives that infamous day. And Marine Corps meanwhile, Private First Class Melvin Thompson was on guard duty. Then 9 Zeros attacked the base. He stepped out of his guard shack, he drew his .45 caliber pistol and began firing on the enemy airplanes. A Japanese pilot, Yoshio Shiga, saw Thompson firing back at them, and years later, Shiga remembered Thompson's tenacity and fighting spirit, describing the lone Marine as the bravest American I'd ever seen. All over the island, soldiers were bringing their weapons to bear and fight. Anything they could get working, their .45 caliber pistols and Springfield rifles. And in some cases, our soldiers were able to get 30 and 50 caliber belt-fed machine guns in action, bringing down numerous marauding Japanese Zeros, Bells, and Kates. Meanwhile, at Bellows Field, on the northeastern coast of the island, more U.S. Army pilots were racing to their P-40s. Unfortunately, Japanese Zeros appeared at the same time and started strafing runs. One P-40 pilot was killed as he stepped into the cockpit. 2 other P-40s were shot down just as they got off the ground. Tora! 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 Imagine you were there that fateful day. The flight of 12 B-17s coming from the mainland arrived and immediately attacked by Zeros. Unfortunately, in all the confusion, the B-17s were shot at by friend and foe. The frightened crews landed wherever they could, one of them in a pineapple field not far from Hickenfield. A B-17 pilot, Major Landon, trying to land, so what a hell of a way to enter a war. Out of gas, unarmed, and no place to land. Amazingly though, 8 of those B-17s actually made it to Hickenfield. Tora! 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 Story Miller's skin color limited him to the role of cook chemical bombs and torpedoes. Awestruck by what he was seeing, he jumped into action, carrying wounded men to safety, including his captain. And without any weapons training, he manned one of those 50 caliber machine guns himself until it ran out of ammo, and he was ordered to abandon ship. He was successful in bringing down 2 Japanese warplanes, as well as saving countless lives. This war hero was awarded the Navy Cross. At the conclusion of the surprise Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor, more than half of America's entire naval fleet had been destroyed or damaged. Nearly 2,400 Americans were killed and over 1,200 wounded. At the time, 960 people were missing, 188 aircraft were destroyed, 159 were damaged, just 155 of our aircraft were left on the ground. 2 battleships were destroyed, 3 light cruisers, 3 destroyers,